a few weeks ago, we came up with the idea of having some way to commemorate the Donegal Rally. So Dennis Ferry, Michael McClafferty, Tony Boyle, and myself uh, said we would get together and speak to previous winners, other competitors, officials, and one thing and another. And this is how this idea come about. So, so the huge part of that early success was down to Cathal Curley, winning on the stages, but a great ambassador away from the stages. Cathal, you're very welcome along.
Thank you, Kevin. It's nice to be here, and it's also a pleasure.
Thank you. And Cathal, you were full square behind the Donegal Motor Club's decision to go with organising the rally. In fact, yourself and Mervyn Johnson won the very first rally organised with Donegal. You were in the passenger seat that day, I believe.
I was in the passenger seat that day, Kevin, and it wasn't a pleasant journey because you're either a driver or a co-driver. A co-driver has a lot more courage at times than the drivers have. And I took the helmet off and kept it on my knee while we passed over Loch Salt, So it wasn't. And I kept saying to Mervyn, now remember, you can't swim in this place. It's very deep. That was the notes I was giving him, Kevin.
So your good friend and co-driver at the time, Austin Fraser, was drafted in by Donegal Motor Club to be clerk of course in the early years of what became the International Rally. Like,
yes.
Austin, we have to remember Austin, like what a fantastic man he was, or is, still is, what he brought to the motor club and the way of organisation to take the rally from very basic to international level in a very short time.
Yes. How do I describe Austin Fraser? Words would be extremely difficult to find, Kevin, to describe Austin Fraser. Fantastic, wouldn't even come close. Brilliant wouldn't come close. Austin Fraser just had such a wonderful knack about doing things, whether he was your co-driver or whether he was the organizer of the rally. Mm-hmm. He was a perfectionist, 110%, and a great guy. And I mean, I owe him everything, because to me, he was, when he was sitting beside you, he was the only person that knew when I was going too quick.
Okay.
And as I used to say, this little pharmaceutical hand used to come over into the middle of the dash, waving, slow down a bit,
Yes.
And he was just a great character. He was a great fella, massive principle, etiquette, you name it. I mean, he was just a perfect gentleman in every sense, both as a co-driver, as an organization, as an organizer, and as a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like to take the rally from nothing to a round of the European Rally Championship within 3-4 years, like,
yeah.
Phenomenal. Be unheard of today.
I suppose the word that you would use there, Kevin, would be impossible nearly today,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when people like Austin Fraser, and of course we have to mention Damien Crawford, people who sell their souls to motorsport,
mm-hmm.
and support it free of charge. I mean, if you take Damien into the equation, a barrister by trade,
mm-hmm.
Who knows the ins and outs of the law, who's very good at representing the club and the competitors at various events, when there's a big meeting with the RIAC or the like of those. When you have Damien Crawford on your side, you have an absolute winner also. Absolutely. In fact, if you took Damien Crawford and Austin Fraser, and I have to mention my friend Fonzie McElwee.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
If you took those people out of the equation in Donegal, I don't think it would have happened. And that's no reflection on anybody in Donegal. But, the grassroots were so important, and the sowing of the grassroots were so important, to get the rally in itself established,
Yeah.
And so we're better placed than Donegal for a rally, Kevin. I mean, the roads are the roads are so testing, so unbelievable, so demanding, so exciting, that it's just a very, very special place, Donegal, and the Donegal Rally is really special.
Yeah, and the success that that you had in those early years, fantastic. 72. The rally, based in Downings for the first time that year, and 100, I think it was over 120, maybe even 150 cars started. Like that must have been a very exciting time.
It was, and I can tell you that Beatty Crawford and Adrian Boyd made it a bit more exciting for me too. Excluding Billy. Including Billy. It was good. And the great thing about rallying in those days, Kevin, was that any one of the first 20 or 30 or 40 could have won the rally.
Yes.
Whereas today, it's got rather expensive. I mean, take it without sounding anyway boastful. The fourth year that we did it, we were 3 minutes ahead on Saturday afternoon in the big 3-liter Porsche, and we were so comfortable, that it was just amazing. Now, I put my hand up and say that, and can say that I would have a familiar situation in Donegal. I mean, Donegal to me wasn't like some of our UK entrants coming over. Even some of our lower southern entrants coming over. I was fairly familiar with Donegal, and I think, Kevin, the situation was that CB, he knows Donegal, and that's it. But then I didn't know the Manx.
No, or all the stages in the Circuit of Ireland.
And I didn't know the Circuit of Ireland, and I didn't know the Ulster.
Yeah.
So I take credit for winning Donegal 3 times, and if I was doing it today, I would like the event to start with the over 70s, Kevin. if you can raise that. In fact, Kevin, you can go as far as the over 75. I would love to have a rally. I'd love to be back out again against Adrian Boyd and Derek Boyd and Ronnie McCartney, God rest him, Robin Lyons, all the guys that were out and fairly competitive in the early 70s and whatnot. It'd be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think my son Connor, and I emphasize the word THINK, think. There's something going on behind my back, Kevin, that I'm not overly familiar with. Maybe you could help me with this.
Well,
it's the 50th anniversary of the Donegal Rally next year.
Yes.
And we won it the first year that it had the recognition of international.
Yes.
And I've picked up snippets here and there.
Yeah, there's stories circulating. Yeah.
There's stories circulating, and there's talk about a car, and there's talk about registration numbers, and so on and so forth. And I haven't quite got to the bottom of it. I think I'd either need the CIA or the FBI to come in to give me a bit of a pull out.
Yes.
I just have to. At the moment, I'm on the sideline, so I just have to remain on the sideline, rather than get a red card for something
well, that is it. Yes. Yes. You would want to just have to investigate deeper and try and get to the bottom of that one.
Yeah, not a lot of help at the moment, Kevin. I would describe it in my words as a bit of a closed shop, So. If you hear anything, you can let me know.
Yes, without a doubt. And winning the rally 3 times, but even beyond that, you become an ambassador for Donegal.
You could put some of this down, I suppose, to Austin Fraser and to Damien Crawford. Kevin, the Donegal Oil Company had decided to cease the sponsorship. And of course, the expense of running a rally like the Donegal International required a sponsor. And we sat down and we talked, Damien and Fonzie and Austin and myself, and we started to figure out who knows who and who knows what and
Yes.
who would be willing and so on and so forth. So I said, I spent a weekend with Hopkirk, Paddy,
Mm-hmm.
and I get on very well with them. And I said, a friend of mine, Phil Coulter, who at one stage had a bit of an interest in rallying. In fact, he finished third or fourth overall in the Cork International, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And I said, I wouldn't make any promises, but I said, if it was possible, I'll try and get them guys to come over and flag off the cars at the start and get them involved in the rally.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, what sort of money are we talking about to get these heavy duty guys over?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said, I'll be speaking to Philip, and his expenses will be overnight accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Paddy, I said, I just tell Paddy the same story. I said to Paddy, I said, we're in a bit of a spot here, Paddy. The finances are very low, and we need a couple of heavy duty personalities to come over to get involved in the rally and flag them off. So I persuaded Hopkirk to come. I think we may have paid for his flight and we paid for his accommodation in the Rossapana, but there was no fees, there was no expenses outside of that.
Yes.
JKC, John Kenneth Cassidy and Coleraine, BMW dealer and a Mini dealer. Jack very kindly supplied us with a Mini Cooper for Paddy to drive. And we a friend of Fancy's, a member of Angarda Chicana, gave us an escort from the hotel at the edge of the town. What do you call the hotel, Kevin, at the end of the town?
Yes.
We started McLaren Philip and Paddy and myself in the Mini Cooper, and this patrol car in front of us with the siren blazing. And really, it was fantastic, you know. And he just came up to the roundabout. Of course, as you come to the roundabout up near the centre of the town, you have to give way to traffic on the right. He just put his hand, Fancy's Garda friend, just put his hand out the driver's window. Stop there, you guys, and we flew on through the roundabout. It was lovely, but it was very good of Paddy and Philip to come along. But I mean, Damien Crawford and Jack Cassidy would have played a vital part in that also. You know.
Yes.
So you know, anything that goes on in Donegal, Kevin, to be successful has got to be a team effort. There's no individuals, you know, who are capable of putting Donegal on the map as far as the rally is concerned. It's a team effort, and I always emphasise that with people who are connected with the rally. You know, there shouldn't be any teams in the rally. The rally should be one large organisation of people who are all rowing and pulling in the same direction.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. And like it has become such a huge event. Like it's one of the biggest sporting events in Ireland. Like the numbers of tourists it attracts, you know, the money it brings into the county, like accommodation wise and all that. Isn't it fabulous to see?
The money, Kevin. I'm told now. I'm only repeating what I've heard. The money is somewhere in excess of 20 million. That is actually brought into the county, because you have a time before the rally where the recce goes on, where boys are over for a week or 3 or 4 days, accommodation, fuel, meals, eats, drinks, bars, pubs, you know, and then the weekend of the rally. So the weekend of the rally, accommodation is out of the question, unless you're booked from the year before or something like that. You wouldn't find a room in the place, which is fantastic, you know. It's wonderful for Donegal, absolutely, you know.
And as you know, as you alluded to, you know, you have the likes of Atlantic Drive, Nogala, you know, Fanad, you know, probably couldn't be better cut roads anywhere.
You have such a variety, Kevin, in special stages. You have, as you mentioned there, you have Nogala, 100 mile an hour plus. You know, going up or coming down it. I mean, all those cars are in 5th or 6th gear and they're all flat to the mat. Then you have Atlantic Drive, and sometimes it's hard to get out of 3rd gear in Atlantic Drive, you know. You've got such a variation of stages, you know, and the people in Donegal are so supportive. The rally will run as long as the people in Donegal are supporting it. And that at the moment, Kevin, is is 100%. The people are behind it. They appreciate the amount of money it brings into the place and the bit of excitement it brings in. And, you know, I know there's some Donegal drivers who drive very quick, but there's none of them driving any quicker than some of the boys in the rally. And the people enjoy it, you know.
Yes.
I mean, they like to see it, you know.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. And you know, whenever the weather's good, you know, the scenery around Donegal, second to none, really, isn't it?
Oh, sure. The only problem I have, Kevin, is I don't be in Donegal often enough and long enough to admire the scenery.
Yes.
I mean, you know, the north coast in Donegal, like from the Badorn end to the Buncrana end.
Yes.
You know, sure. You know, Mobile and whatnot. Sure, it's phenomenal. It's absolutely beautiful. You know, we could be very happy to have it at our doorstep. I mean, you want to listen to some of these Yanks coming over. You know, what a wonderful country you have here. This is absolutely fantastic. You know, I mean, they have nothing like it back at home. You know,
and we don't appreciate it half enough. You know,
absolutely, Captain. Absolutely. You know.
Yes.
So I was delighted to see them taking up some form of motorsport, you know, and I support them 100%, you know.
Yes. Yeah. So,
but they're not. The thing is changed. The thing has changed, Kevin. In my day, I bought a Porsche, which wasn't very expensive, not expensive at all compared to a WRC today, and the Porsche was capable of winning rallies. I mean, if the situation was reverted back to my day, I wouldn't have won any rallies if it was a matter of worked cars or WRCs, you know. Today, Conor has a Mark II Escort with a 1 million ton, and it's probably as good a Mark II as there is in the country. But Conor's problem is he gets out in Donegal and he gets out in Cork, and that would maybe be, he might go to Sligo or to Mayo or somewhere, and that would be his 3 rallies. Well, once every 3 or 4 months, Kevin, it doesn't make the sums.
No.
You know, I mean, you've got to be out. You've got to be out every fortnight if you want to be competitive. You know, and I know at the moment that rallying's gone through a very quiet period, but you know, as long as Conor enjoys what he's doing and Rowan enjoys it, sure, you can't ask for any more. You know, it's a bit of fun.
Because as a fabulous sport for that, like, you know, the friendships you built up in the 70s. You know, you mentioned the likes of Paddy Hook, Kirk, and these guys. You've kept them friendships going to this day. I would say that you can still have the bit of crack with the boys too whenever you get chatting to them.
Oh God, Kevin. I mean, the friendships are life lasting. Yeah, I mean, friendships never die. I mean, Mervyn Johnson. I'm sure you know. Mervyn. I sold Mervyn a Jag there, a 2-liter Jag. Mervyn's 83, I think. I sold him a 2-liter Jag, and he had it. He loved it. Lovely car. But CB says there's no poke in it. I says, Mervyn, 83 years of age. What are you going to do with poke? I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I need something. He only had the car about 6 weeks, and no, I need something a bit more poke. Well, I says, a BMW. No, I'm not going. Get me a 3-liter Jag in the small model, not in the big one. I have a 3-liter in the big one that you took off me against the small one. You get me a 3-liter car in the small Jag. I said, Mervyn, they're very, very scarce. They're very, very hard to get. But eventually I got him one. He's been on the phone about 10 times. Best car ever I sat in CP. Good bit of poke in it, man. I says, Sylvia, your wife is ready to kill me for selling you cars with too much poke in them, you know. But even to this day, there's an example of what motorsport does for you. 83 years of age. And the 2-liter turbo. Didn't have enough lift, didn't have enough poke, so he wanted a 3-liter turbo. So he's got his 3-liter turbo now. Great friend of mine, has been for, I'm sure, 60 years or more, Kevin.
And you know, isn't that's what rallying is all about? You know, like, you know, lifelong friendships have developed out of it, isn't it? Really, you know. So.
Oh, there's no doubt in the world about it. Like, you know, I mean. We've just lost a lot of good people. We've lost Robin Lyons, we've lost Robert McBurney, we've lost Ronnie McCartney, you know, and that's Noel Smith. That's only the the edge of the iceberg. You know, I mean, we've lost a lot of very good people, great competitors. Win or lose, it didn't matter. Like, they went out and they enjoyed themselves, and if they beat me, I would congratulate them, and if I beat them, they'd be the first up to congratulate me. And it wasn't just quite as cutthroat in those days, Kevin. You know, but I understand where it is today. It's so expensive that there's a certain amount of demand on you winning the rally, you know, to justify the expense of the thing, you know.
Well, Cathal, on my behalf, like, I've always found you, anything you can do for Donegal Motor Club, the Donegal Rally, you will shout it from the highest rooftop. So, so I like to just say, how much that's appreciated by everybody involved.
Kevin, that goes. I remember at an AGM, I think it was Damien, was maybe chairman at the time or something, and he got a letter in from spectators to say that if there was more people like Cathal Curley marshalling stages, the thing would be a lot more smooth and would be a lot better for everybody. And I didn't quite cop on what all this meant, but he showed me the letter that someone sent in. So I said, I remember that incident. There was a young fella, a marshal on a stage, and there were people in an area that could have been dangerous in a way, So, I mean, safety is always number one priority, Kevin. So they wouldn't move for him anyway. So I thought to myself, well, I'll go over and see what I can do for him anyway. So I went over and I said, mentioned a few words, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And I said, now listen, I'm prepared to fight you, but only one at a time. There's too many of you there for me to take you all on. But I said, if you come out here one at a time, I'll have a go at you. Now I said, which would you prefer? Would you prefer to move or have a go at me? I'm an old man, but I said I can still fight. And they all started to laugh and joke and whatnot, and they all moved. And some of them must have written in because the young fella that wanted them didn't have the right approach, Kevin. You know, I mean, he just a man to get you out of here, which just played the wrong way. So Damien Crawford brought me the letter, congratulating me and saying there should be more people like me,
It takes a special type of person to stand out there and all others too, doesn't it?
It does indeed, Kevin, and it takes a special way to maybe persuade people sometimes, to move or to try to get them to move. And it's if you're not fairly mature, it's not easy acquiring that art of getting them to move.
Making it work. I think it's their idea almost.
And I mean, the marshals, we can't run rallies without marshals. And I must say that I have nothing, only the massive admiration for them. They're there, they're doing their very best, and we can't run the rally without them.
No. So, Cathal, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Kevin, if it's Donegal, if it's Kerry, if it's Galway, if it's Dublin, it doesn't matter where it is. If it's rallying and it's sport, I'll only too happy to throw in whatever little I can contribute to the event or to the series here. Thank you for having me, Kevin. And believe me, it was a pleasure.
It was an absolute pleasure talking to you.
And Kevin, we'll just end by up Donegal.
I'd like to welcome along now John Lyons. John, you're very welcome this morning.
Kevin, thank you very much. I appreciate the invite to come along and talk again to you. I enjoyed the last time, so I hope I enjoy this time if you don't ask me too many hard questions.
Oh, hopefully not. And it's always a pleasure to talk about the Donegal Rally. So what's your earliest memory of Donegal?
Well, the county itself, I would have been very aware of being brought up on the verge of the county between Tyrone and Donegal. So Donegal was always close to my heart. We went there for holidays, and we always looked forward to going there. So it was always our holiday destination. The rally, when the rally started with my neighbour and myself, Trevor Semple, we went to watch it. And of course, when you go to watch a rally, and especially Donegal, that sold it to us. And I remember watching Knockalla, watching different stages, and just being mesmerised by the cars and by the quality of the driving. and it always seemed good weather, which was nice. So Donegal just always seemed to attract the good weather, and so I remember sitting on the bank in Knockalla and saying to Trevor, Trevor, I'd love to do this sometime. I'd really love to do this rally, and that's my memories of it really.
And 78, that was your first time competing then, was it?
19, I think it was. I think 78 was the first time in the Group 1 Ford Escort, yes.
And what a start.
Yeah, it was a great start and a very bad start and a very good start. But I was to drive my Group 1 Escort, which which Derek Porter and myself owned together, and then Derek wanted to do the rally, so and rightly so, I gave the car to him to do. So I had no car, and wasn't intending to do it. And Freddie Patterson then he was after getting the ex-Bertie Fisher Group 1 Escort. Bertie had gone to a Group 4 car, and he rang me up out of the blue. He says, John, he says, I have an Escort here. He says, you take it with you and use it. And that was the type of friendship I had with Freddie, because we'd gone to school together and there was no charge for the car. Take the car. I couldn't believe it. I thought, this is fantastic. And, that was really it. So we took the car. That was just, a couple of days before the rally.
Right.
So the rally organisers, as they do in Donegal, they're always very good at facilitating you. And they gave me a late entry. I forget where I was seated. You need to look at the photographs. But we got the car down just the day before, and lo and behold, the steering rack was hanging out of it. So we went to we thought, what do we do here? But it was really bad, and we went down to Harold Walls of Victoria Bridge, and Harold made 2 bushes for the rack. We worked and put the rack back in again. That left it, and drove the car down to Scrutiny. And I'd never driven the car before until really the first stage. So that was the start, and it was a memorable rally for a whole lot of reasons. And I had to try extra hard because I just hoped it would be competitive amongst the classy entry. And we had, I would say, it was one of the most enjoyable Donegal. I enjoyed them all, but I think it was really one of the most enjoyable, because number one, the stages were superb as always. The weather was superb, and we were setting good times from the start, which gave me a bit of confidence. We were top 6 stage times. I think we got second fastest on to Ari down at Marble Hill over that wee stage there. And so we got off to a good start.
Yeah, and like whenever Ari Vatanen was coming over and talking to you, as the stage ends, stage starts, must have been such a thrill for a young guy starting out in sport.
Well, I felt so honoured and humbled. It was the end of Loch Esk stage. Loch Esk was on then 21 miles of it, ending on the Mount Charles Road, and it's a fantastic stage, Loch Esk. I absolutely adored it, still do. Very fast stage, especially down the back end. It's very, very quick. And we came to the end of the stage, and I remember Ari was there, Ronnie McCartney was there, and they were waiting to which was very nice of them to see my time. And I was sitting in the car. And it's funny how you learn from something. I had my foot on the brake pedal. And Ronnie, he says, have you your foot in the brake pedal? Through the window to me, so I have. He says, don't do that, John. He says, because you're just after stopping at the end of the stage, and the pads can melt to the disc, and really seize on the disc. So there was a lovely help from a very, very experienced competitor about what I didn't know to take my foot off the foot brake, so that the pads didn't go. The discs were red hot, like they were going, and then we moved on out to the service area on the Mount Charles Road, and Ari came up and he says, it was typical Ari draw. He said, lift the bonnet of this car. He says, I want to see has it 1 camshaft or 2. So that was a massive compliment to me. And we joked and laughed because he had done Loch Esk, and I was a second behind him stage time. And he says, I can't understand where you got that time. You're taking shortcuts, you know. So he gave me a big compliment.
Yes.
Talking that there to me, and I felt just $1 million that someone like Ari Vatanen was here, just having a lovely chat with me, and it's something I'll always remember, and something I'll always savor.
Yeah, and like, you know, you were up to, I think you were in the top 3, maybe even second overall on the Sunday.
I was, that's right. You know, it was an experience on my part. Like if anybody told me at the start of the rally I'd been anywhere in the top 10, I would have been taking their arm off. But you know, after the Friday and Saturday, and there were quite a few retirements, and there we going out on the Sunday morning. We were really well up there, and which was lovely. And I should, like, you know, at Group 1 in the bag. And I should have, if it had sense, I should have eased off slightly and driven well within the limits. But of course, I was going out as if it was the first stage again. And everything went well until that stage. I forget the name of it. I shouldn't, but it's just outside the Milford Inn. And that's when we had the massive roll due to a tire deflating, actually. And rolled into the field, but you know, it was very, very lucky. We rolled and over the ditch into the field. Car landed in the wheels, and your natural reaction is you can't believe it for the first few seconds. All that dust and dirt going out around the car and down around your eyes. And I just turned the starter, and the car gave a few groans and kicked into life. Put it into gear. Thought, let's get to the end of the stage, and drove it out through the gate. And drove to the end of the stage with the back wheel was flat, but that was no difference. Got to the end of the stage. Unfortunately, there was a service at the end of that stage. That left 2 stages to go in the rally. Like, that's how close we were to getting to the finish.
Yeah.
And we were distraught. I was absolutely thinking, how stupid was that to throw everything away? And you know, I just didn't even think we would get to the end of the rally at that stage. Never mind finish up anyway, decent. So in the service, and the car, everybody can see the car in video and pictures, and all we could do was take a sledge to it. So the service crew got on it with the sledgehammer, battered up the roof, and I asked us, look, guys, line the steering. This car's driving, you know, it's driving better than it looks. So we lined the steering. We put on 4 new tires, wheels and tires, and thought, you know, there's nothing to be lost here. Next stage was Knockalla, and then one of my very favourite stages in Donegal, Fannet Head. And Knockalla, so we needed stage miles to get there again.
Of course, yeah.
But lo and behold, with the weather and the spectators, the clerk of the course cancelled Knockalla, much to everybody's disappointment. And that left just 1 stage to go. So, and that was Fannet Head, run anti-clockwise. So I told Trevor to tighten his belt and we'd go for it and that. So we had a very good run over Fannet, and we got back a lot of lost time, and it got us back into the lead of Group 1 and into 7th overall, I think. So at the end of the stage, at the wee bridge there, where they cut it a wee bit short that year to cut out that bridge, there was, you know, Ari and Ronnie McCartney and all the boys were standing, and like they gave me such a welcome when I came to the end of the stage, and it's just a memory I'll take to the grave with me. And if you were asking me what was my best memory in Donegal, okay, it was fantastic, and I'm very honoured to have won it twice since then. But you know, I honestly look on that Group 1 win as my favourite, because just because of the way I was made welcome, the guys who I was competing with treated me so well as an equal for someone who was really just had done very little, and that was nice, and I'll take that one to the grave.
And then you're going back again then in '79, still in Group 1 car at this stage.
Yeah, had my own Group 1 car then, '79. Had a good sponsor with Vladimir Vodka, and had that car well sorted. It was a good Group 1 car. Sidney Meekin built it, as he did all my Fords, and it was it was good. And you know, you got a wee bit more confidence going back because you knew at least you could mix it with the boys. And we had a great run in '79 too. Everything went well. We didn't put a stone chip in the car, but if it changed the year before, I think there were a few boys waiting for me to do the same thing. I didn't want. Well, I disappointed them. I didn't. But yeah, I had a great drive in it. It never gave 1 ounce of trouble. Didn't lose any time with the car. It was superb, and we were able to experiment a wee bit with rubber. And Brian Nelson won it, and they took a tiles Group 4 car. Bertie was second in the Group 4. I was third in the Group 1. Ernie Kidney was behind that in the Group 4 car. So yeah, we had a great rally.
Yeah. And then at 80, you come back then in Group 2, wasn't it, Opel Cadet?
Group 2 Cadet wanted a bit more power then, and we got the deal with Opel in the Group 2 Cadet. And that's a car which I developed as we went along with the help of DOT. It was a good car. I didn't do it justice with results. I got it right up there, but the results didn't come along because, quite honestly, I probably was overdriving the car all the time. I was competing with Group 4 stuff. I wanted to try and beat them. It just really hadn't the brake horsepower or the brakes. But it was a superb handling car. Of all the rally cars I have driven in my career, that Group 2 Cadet was by far the best handling car. Better, you know, people say, oh, it wasn't better than a Group 4 Escort. It was better than a Group 4 Escort because I had it very well developed. A lot of, you know, it was like a Chevette. The chassis was similar, so able to do experiment with it, and it was very easy to drive. You could have just done with another 60 brake horsepower, and you could have done with better brakes because that was Group 2, and you had drum brakes in the back, and this is the front. But it was a very enjoyable car. I loved driving it. You could have steered it with one arm. It was so direct and nice to drive. It really was.
And like if it had got the HS engine into it, you know, the 2.3, it could have probably been a winner, wouldn't it have been, really? Then?
It would have been definitely would have been a winning car if you had that there. But we had a reasonably good run. On the Friday, Jimmy was over, and he had the Chevette, and we were leading it on the Friday. We led Jimmy on the Friday, and then what happened? Yeah, out on Saturday, there wasn't much between us, very, very little. But we were ahead out on the Saturday, and I don't know if I could have held him or not, probably not. But I was trying my best anyhow. And a wee stone came in through the air intake of the carburetors. There weren't any, they weren't covered. They should have been. And went into the head, and that broke the piston. So that was us out in 1980. So we were disappointed to be out, but that's all part of rally, and that was really it. So we got Saturday done. Yeah,
for 81, then you finally got your hands on the Group 4 car. Then
got the Group 4 Escort, and done the circuit in it, and that was my first rally on it. So I had it sorted, at least on the circuit. I was able to sort it as we went along and get it handled in the way I liked it, because I like setting the spring ratings to the way I like them. I don't like a car too hard. I like it soft, and it had it really right. Sydney had it really right for me, and I wanted to, you know, at this time, like Donegal felt like home then. I was confident going to it, and I don't mean being big-headed, but you were confident. You knew the area. You knew the stages, and having done it, 3 years previously, you felt at home, and I was determined to give it a good push, because I thought, well, if I can mix it with Jimmy in a Group 2 car, I should be able to do the same thing in a Group 4 car without just being on the door handles all the time. And so we did. We went out from the drop of the flag. We went out to really give it our best go. And I thought, I want to try and win this. If I don't on it and leave it in the ball of scrap. Well, that's it. That's rallying, and that's me. And so we did, and we had a good run. Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone just fell into place so well that weekend again too for you. Like to come away with this rally that you had been so competitive on, it must have been such a fantastic feeling then on the
It
Sunday
was.
evening.
It was Sunday evening was a great feeling, and I'm when anytime I've watched the rally since, they always go down for it each year. But I think I really feel for anybody that wins it after 3 days when you see them come up to the Mount Eric. When you see them come to the hotel, the old names still stick. I just think they must feel fantastic, like I did. Been honoured to be able to drive up the ramp and having won what would for me my home international I put in front of the Ulster Rally, because it's just the atmosphere Donegal, and it was a great feeling, and you just feel so humbled to have won it, and it was a great feeling that Sunday afternoon, evening, driving up the finish ramp, and because I never ever thought, going back from when I stood at the side of the road with my friend Trevor Semple watching it, that I would one day win it. All I do was wanted to compete in it, and try and be competitive. So yeah, it was a great feeling.
And then to repeat that success in '82, the rally moved to Bundoran, different stages. So like to go and show, and in mixed conditions that year the weather wasn't maybe as kind. It showed the versatility that it wasn't just because you knew the stages. There were different area.
Well, different area. No one can say you knew the stages over that part of the country because you didn't. You knew an odd one like Escort, that type of thing, which was great. But it was centred around Bundoran. We would have missed Letterkenny, but Bundoran, they were put up the sponsorship that year, and that's why James Cullen, who was clerk of the course, moved it to Bundoran. And it was good for the rally because it left an even playing field for everybody. And the opposition that year would have been Billy and the works Opel. And the conditions, it's the only year I ever remember Donegal being absolutely soaking wet. The stages, the water was running down the road. It was so wet. It wasn't a case. I would rarely have used wets on a car. Wet weather tires that use intermediates and use slicks, and I would always about using slicks even if the road was damp because they're that much quicker. But that's the first time I used wets, which really they're tremendous tire. But like the water was running down the road in gutters, and that seemed to suit me very, very well. I like those type of conditions. That really you have to drive to the conditions, and I seem to draw away pretty easily in those sort of conditions. Maybe my car worked better than Billy's Opel, but we had a fair good lead on Friday and Saturday, and then Billy's car retired on Saturday with a broken back axle, I think, and I think it was John Lyons finished after me, but we had gone out on Sunday morning with a lead of about 8 minutes. So it was a case of getting around on Sunday without making any mistakes or doing anything. And at least I had matured from my earlier days. And it was just a case of driving around. It might have been great for the spectators. It wasn't great for me either if I don't like driving a car like that. But you just drove around to try and preserve the car and keep your lead. It's not a nice position to be in.
No, I was going to say it must be more awkward.
It's very awkward, and you can make a mistake because you're not concentrating the same. You really could make a stupid mistake. And I was glad to see the end of Sunday because you just Sunday it dried up on Sunday. The conditions were okay. Excuse me, but it was nice to bring it home in Bundoran too, because it was very nice. Very appreciative of that. Nice to do 2 in a row.
Absolutely. So then you took a couple of years away from rallying then, but you come back then, it was 85. With
85 or 86, was it? I'm not sure.
85, yeah, in the McGarty, the wee CRX.
Oh yeah, and the wee CRX, we got that out to put her toe in the water again. We'd taken it to the Circuit of Ireland, and Harold was getting a bit of sponsorship from Honda, where he was the big Honda dealer in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And he asked me to drive it, and that escalated into quite a good deal, because we got against all the odds, we got good results. We won in the circuit. We first time out, it was really trial and error. We won the Group B class up to such as a CC, which was good, and the circuit was a proper circuit in those years, 5 days hard labour, and then Donegal came up, so we went there again with a different wee Honda, and we brought it home as well and won the class. So that got the interest of Honda in London and Japan, the importers, and so that led to a better car, because they were really they at that time they were winning everything in racing with Nigel Mansell.
Oh yes,
Nigel Mansell won the championship in a Honda, and but they were obviously thinking of rallying. We were just a bit too early for them. But at least we got help. We got taken out to Japan for nearly 3 weeks, out to the Honda factory, everything, and I brought a limited slip and 2 struts home in bags and which they gave me out there. It was just tremendous to see the Honda factory, be part of it, be privy to seeing what was going on there. To go into the Egan factory, which is part of Honda, see Mansell's racing car sitting there and all that goes on. Well, it was secret stuff, and they looked after it very, very well over there. That was the Honda, and we had that for a few years. Got them results, and that car was eventually sold to James Cullen, and then from the Honda, we went next. If I'm talking about Donegal, what would the next car have been?
The Lancia then, wasn't it, from then? Yeah.
Was it the Honda to the Lancia?
Because I had the CRX in '85, and then '86 it was the wee Civic SI, and
yes,
the result you achieved there, I think it was 8th overall.
Yeah,
that was a fairly standard car, with a few upgrades, but nothing spectacular.
It really was. The engine in that car was completely and utterly standard, the same as you drive on the road. There was limited slip in it, and a few wee suspension tweaks. I must say that would have been a really, really outstanding result for the machinery to get that Honda up there amongst all the big stuff, and enjoyed it very well. Another sweltering weekend. I remember coming off Fannet Head, run clockwise this time, dropping down into where the golf club was there at the end, and the brakes actually went on fire. They actually weren't on fire, and we had to get a bucket of water and throw it over it, and then we had to renew a brake pipe and whatnot. But it was door handle stuff, but very enjoyable, and because you had to drive it that way to get a result.
Get the best out of it.
It was nice to win the class with it too. Honda was a good experience. And then, as you say, we moved to the Lancia.
Yeah.
At 87.
87.
Yeah. And that was a great deal. Lancia was a full works drive. Lancia Ireland looked after me very well. And we won the Group 1 championship, and then the Lancia was Group N, which coupled with Group 1. So we won it for them in '87, and we also won it for them in '88 in the Lancia, against all the odds really, because the Sierra, the Cosworth Sierras were much quicker than the Lancia, but we had the reliability, and we got it home. We got some good results out of it. I think 6th in Donegal.
Yeah, 6th in '87. And that was, that was whenever Group B was starting to be outlawed, but we still had the Mantas and things like that. But you were kind of racing Billy Coleman at this stage, and Coleman was in the Group A BMW. No, it probably wasn't his favourite car, but you were kind of mixing it with him times-wise over Friday and Saturday, really, weren't you?
That's right, we were. I don't know if that went down too well or not, but anyhow. That was a good wee car, and a fairly reliable car, because it wasn't far off standard, and it had great 4-wheel drive. It understeered. You had a special knack in driving it, and you had a left foot brake because it was turbo, and it wasn't the pleasantest car to drive.
Okay.
And it wasn't a pleasant car, I'm sure, for spectators to look at, because even though you were the door handles, it didn't look it. It was quiet. It was understeering. You had a brake before the corner, and you know, it wasn't a car, you would never see it sideways.
Okay, it wasn't spectacular to watch.
Yeah. And but it was extremely reliable, and we managed to win the championship both years, 87 and 88.
Yeah.
88 Donegal then, and that's the only time the Lancia let me down was in 1988. And I blew the head gasket in, of all stages, Loch Esk, beside home, beside my home in Donegal.
Yeah.
And I think it was about the third stage then on a Friday. So
Right.
it's because I've always had great success in Donegal, great reliability, I should say, as well. And so it was disappointing to go out with that there. But that was really the Donegal years. So nothing, only really good memories. And it's too, when you know, it's the organisers of the rally and the way they make you feel welcome, and the Donegal people. And you know, it really is home to me, but you know, I spent a lot of time down there now, and it just I've beautiful memories of the county.
Yeah, I think it's gone beyond rallying now, as you say. You've a holiday home here now. It's just, you know, the love of the place. It's just
That's right.
It oozes out of you. You know, every time you speak about Donegal, there you just.
Well, I love it. I feel very content there. I'm very happy there, and know a lot of people, and you know, I just love spending time there. And you know, I can hardly believe until you rang me up. I hadn't thought of it. Like, I was very disappointed there was no rally this year, obviously, as everyone is. But you know, it's 40 years since I won it. I don't want to think of that. It's 40 years. That's a long, long time.
Isn't it just,
and, you know, it's so I'll be going over to Angus and Glen on with Philip Fitzpatrick and all the boys on Saturday night off the rally. It'll and we'll be taking a few scoops over there, and that's, so I'm looking forward to meeting them all over there at the Glen on Saturday night.
That was brilliant.
That'll be nice. That'll
be
nice.
And you probably already answered this question, like the one memory that stands out for you. So suppose 78, that coming off the
well, you know, most people would answer that for me and say it was probably the year I won, which I'm not taking away from the win, which is winning any international is absolutely tremendous. But no, I think as a young guy driving a Group 1 Escort and getting it up there to, you know, and then having the rolls, and you know, just that whole rally was an adventure from start to finish. And I was very inexperienced, and I just thought, if you go rallying, you've got to drive it flat open from start to finish. You hear these boys, I pace myself, I do this, I do that. I'm afraid there's only one pace I ever knew, and that was to my detriment at times. But anyway, 78 is the one, the great memory. And one, just when you mentioned that, Freddie Patterson, who owned the car, Freddie was relaxing the weekend down in the Frank Casey in the Port Saline, and you know, everybody's saying, what are you going to tell Freddie? What's Freddie saying? Freddie wasn't a bit put out by it. You know, when I rang Freddie up, first thing he said, Johnny says, congratulations, a great result and everything. He never mentioned car. So I'll have to meet you, Freddie, because you're not going to like the car, you know. And we met afterwards, and I ended up buying the car off him, and it was a lovely deal, you know, and everything went very well. So I have to mention him, you know, regarding that, because it was just one of those things.
Yes.
That was it. So, you know, for all sorts of reasons, 78 stands out. And you know, it was just maybe it wasn't the wisest way to drive. It's the only way I knew how to drive. And I thought this pacing yourself just wasn't in my head.
It wasn't your scheme.
Maybe it's time when you look back, and you can't put an old head on young shoulders.
You know, you wouldn't have as much fun maybe if you'd have been as sensible, you know.
That's right. And, Brian McDade from Letterkenny, Brian always tells me that's the right way to drive, John. You know? Wasn't made for a few good photographs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, John, thank you very much now for taking the time to join us. Appreciate your time once again, and lovely wee trip down memory lane there.
Well, Kevin, thank you. I'm honoured for you to ask me, and always delighted to talk to you, and hope to see you the weekend. Hopefully see you in Glen.
Hope all been well.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much.
Good man. Bye. Thank you. Now. Bye-bye. I'd like to welcome along James Cullen. James, you're very welcome.
Cheers, Kevin. Good to chat to you again.
Yeah, it's always good to talk. So, James, like being a Letterkenny man, I suppose the Donegal Rally has been in your blood since a very young age.
Of course it is. Like as you said it all there. Being a Letterkenny man, or even have to be a Donegal man. Never mind a Letterkenny man. And funny enough, where I live at the moment, or where we lived for a long time, it's not. And we're playing car there in Rory is like it's not that famous Trenta stage that you go out of the Claremont. Like we would have walked out to see that, cycled out, and you know it was one of the stages, and the rally coming to town was like a circus coming to town. It was magical in the day, like when you were before you could even drive. You used to go down to where McMahon's garage used to be. Mr. Chippy would be now anybody from out of Letterkenny, and the where the old railway station was to be and all that, and see the cars coming under scrutiny, like, and these are things you only saw in magazines, like, you know, apart from the iconic Escorts and all that sort of stuff, but there was Porsches there and stuff like that, like it's, you know, and I don't think we would have, probably hadn't seen a Porsche in Donegal until the rally, like, and I remember people like Jack Tardif coming here with a bright red 3-litre Porsche with these JCT number plate, not, you know, and that,
Yes.
they were amazing machines, like, and you had the Curley eras, McCartney's, and all that in the very, very early days, like before even I had a license. So, you know, it was always the background. Now I was more into football and athletics and all that sort of the time, but it was still had a huge thing in it, and the probably seeds were sown at that stage, like, you know, and then I had a, you know, and then obviously then when I started, then that's the bit that, you know, that's the bit that sucked you into it, I suppose. And then the fact that Rory was down the road, and you know, I saw a lovely photograph up shown to me on Facebook today, like of Jim Kennedy and Father Woolley doing the first Donegal Rally ever. Like I remember that car FIH 32, that Helmut Hunter coming to Glencar, the back of Rory's home house, like, you know.
Right.
So we grew up with all, you know, with all that. So probably Jim and Father Woolley, and then through Rory, and going out to service along with Rory and Rodney Spencer over part of your way there, where they were, was my first my first trip out to rallying, like, you know. And the showed the bug bit, and that was it, like, you know. And then we had to get going, and the only way in then was through, you know, you joined the motor club and you did bits and pieces, and then I had to learn to co-drive, navigate, I suppose, then did navigation rallies and did all that sort of stuff, like, and that's how the whole thing started, like. And
that would have been sort of mid-70s then, was it, at that stage?
About the mid-70s. I was trying to figure out there. I think it's 75. I'm fairly sure it's around then was my first. 74, 75 was the first navigation rallies. And I mean, that was a good old pal of mine at the time. We were at the college together, Paul Shields. And Paul had a lovely purple 1600E Cortina. Fair thing back and then. Like, we did our first. It was our first navigation rally in Donegal, and we did a few. And it was actually I did my first stage rally with the same guy, same Paul, in a 1300E purple Mark 1 Escort down at the downhill stages, down at the back of down the downhill hotel in Ballina. I know be about God knows, I don't remember. Then progressed on through Andy Higgardy, the local Ford dealer here, and Andy was big into the rally, and then, you know, and would have helped out, you know, brought Vatanen here. And it was iconic years. I was always a huge supporter of rallying, and then Andy decided I'd have a go at this myself, and, you know, and I just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
You didn't have to twist your arm.
That started the co-driving career, like, you know. And on then through like a couple of great events with James McDade, which was like an education and in many ways. And James was a fantastic character, like, you know, and serious rally head, like, you know. And, you know, he came before the Donegal Rally started, like at Easter. You know, and that was the talk of that was the talk of the town. Then from where we were going, from that, like, and James was right now, as you know, some great results here, and then. Like, it took a very good guy to replace me because he had to get Rory Kennedy when I started.
He did a real pro.
Some great cars like this. Yes. I remember that we bought Group 1 would be RS 2000 from Suddenly Meek, like just brand new, state of the art car. We had it for Galway in it, like in 78, 77, 78, I think, like, you know. And that was the bee's knees, and that was the business Group 1. And that was the year of the snow. There was snow in Galway that year. But I did a number of rallies with James then, like, and then that was the education, I suppose. And then you always wanted to go and have a go yourself. So we decided then, we're chatting to Rory one night how we'd go about all this. So we went down the Avenger route then. So that was our first foray into the what took over our life for the next 20 years or something. You know? That was the first run the driver's seat. I was, you know, that was so there were some fairly big serious nights involved in that and getting it ready, like, you know.
I can imagine, yeah, like everything was going into that, all your focus, all your money too.
Every single thing, like was through Danny Caddy and again Paul Hughes and we different boys were, you know, Danny had a garage in the Church Lane at the time. And of course Eamon was rallying, Eamon Harvey, and he would have been the guy we would have all kind of looked up, you know. He was the only other rally person we kind of knew about here.
Yes.
And Eamon like would have opened a class, and it would have been, you know, very, very, very good in his day. Like, and he was the benchmark. He was the guy you kind of looked up to. And we got to know Eamon, and Eamon's car was built down with Danny, and then the whole thing, like, it came about. We got an old Avenger that was bought in McMahon's garage, and then back in the day when you had all the trips like to Robin Lange's and Castlederg, they were the Talbot Avenger or Chrysler or Park, you know.
Yes.
So like usually every from whatever night it was, once or twice a week or whatever, the path was worn over to Castlederg, bringing bits out like it back in the day, and this was like once you got the money, you went away and got something. Like, you know, but like, apart from paying for the stuff, you had to get it out.
Oh yes, the border was in.
You had to avoid the customs, the Gardaí, because it was that time UDR men and British soldiers, and RUC. So between here and Castlederg, like there was some right effing nights in it now, like I said, you know. And like when the big bits were coming out, the customers were your biggest problem right now. Like used to do a smoke in the abandon on like 2 cars, like, you know, and they're coming up when there were 3 flashes the brake lights, you turned them back. if they were about the bridge in Castle Fun there, you know? That was a kind of the famous haunt, you know. But you know, you could have been stopped anywhere there when you passed Charlie Cameron's petrol station.
There were smoke signals went out.
UDR or RUC or British boys, you know, they'll be out on the road with us red, and then there'll be 15 black faces, knives sitting looking out of the heads at you, guns pointing at it. Half a roll cage in her or something like that, or a fun enough.
They didn't know what you were at all.
No, but you know, we're smuggling, could have been smuggling anything. It was good crack now. I'll tell you, it was great start. To be fair. So, good time. Good old time.
At 79 then was the first venture into the international then for you and Rory at that stage.
That was the debut. We'd done Ballina, myself and Rory. As a run out, and we ended up second, and that was, you know, hold on, but this is not so bad here, like, you know. This is not so bad. So we did international, and I remember well seated 112, and so it was great. We thought we were Cathal Curley, you know. We were doing the Donegal Rally, and on the Friday that year we did all the Fanet stages. Well, that was a look for Friday. Like, imagine doing that on Friday in your first ever international. You know, and it's class, like, and then we headed away up 4 stages, and Saturday morning was outside Kilross and headed away over by Donegal town, like, and ended up Port Newar or Graffy and all that.
Killybegs direction out the west.
Way out there, and you come back to Letterkenny, and you went back out and did it all again. Boys would freak out now. They'd be crying up, they'd be parking up halfway around it, like, you know. And that was Saturday, and I can't remember. Sunday was down Castlederg and all that, somewhere down there, I think now, but Saturday was epic. Like, the Donegal Saturday Rally now, which is the big day, we did it on Friday.
That was.
I know we're down around the west of Ireland. Like, I have no idea how many stages, but there were 30, 40 stages. I have
You
no
probably say
idea.
there
Like,
must be nearly 35, 40 stages.
it had to be. I know there was 50s on their day, like and stuff like that, but it must have been around. I have to think. Like, stand to be corrected, but it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and like you must have felt like you'd won the FA Cup, like rolling over the start ramp then too.
Oh, you get back to the start ramp, as you say, in your first international driving, like in the tours from the town and the crowds at the finish, the crowds everywhere, like and the trophies and won the class, and sure, you couldn't make it up, like but it was great, But then the following year, like, but was other downside of it, the thing blew up on the first stage, so it was great that it all went right the first year. That's
that really didn't it?
that was some memory. Like same car, same place the following year. Like when that's the 4 stages, and the engine blew up. So there you go, back to the drawing board.
Yes. So then by 82, you took another different direction. Then you become COC. What was the thinking or the reason behind that stage?
I probably needed my head looked. Just one of them stupid things you do at that age, like or I can't remember, exactly, but my recollection was a rally was going to Bundoran, and there was a whole big thing about it. Was there nobody to run it? And then there was talk about making it a one-day national just to get over the line. And there came a fantastic sponsorship from the Great Northern and Bundoran, like at that stage, like it was unbelievable. And a bit of a head stagger, a rushed head of the blood. I says, right, how about the hand up, and says, right, I'll do it. Growing up with rallying, and I suppose I've been very passionate about rallying. That's but I was probably too young to have done it then. I've been better rallied more then. You've been more competitive than money, and then done the organising, but in later years. But so we got it. It's about face, like so. But anyway, we did it. The thing worked. We got back and did it the second year for some reason or other. I don't know why, like, but there's some great memories from them. Still met a lot of great people through it, and of course, at that age, you learned an awful lot about
like
the whole sport, and you learned both sides of the sport, like the amount of effort.
That era you brought on Shell Oils and as one of the main sponsors.
We're lucky, and like we went to Bundoran and John Lyons won it, and was they put the rally on a very good financial footing, and it was probably a good wake up call for Letterkenny, because they actually lost, the event, and you do take things for granted, and then we're lucky enough that Derek McMahon, obviously, and most of the things that have happened in Donegal that have been good have originated there at some stage or other, like So Derek was the Shell distributor here, as everybody knows, in his day. So he made the call to Irish Shell. And funny enough, myself and Reba were the people. She was secretary. I was the COC that year. Ended up with a meeting with Irish Shell in Dublin and done our spiel and done the whole thing. Like, but they've been told, like, did they sponsor this rally, boys? And so we put the details together. And even that year, then there was never any TV coverage. This is way before RPM and Plum and all that.
Oh yes.
So I got to know Michael Ricard somewhere or other, probably through running the rally the previous year and Bits and Pieces Rally, and said to Michael, what's the story about get TV coverage for better rally? And he says, pushing away, he says, but it's very hard. So tell you what I'll do, he says, I'll set up a meeting with Fred Cogley, who was the head of sport at the time, and see how we get on. So myself and Reba headed up to see Fred Cogley and Michael Ricard, and long story short, we got a TV program for Donegal. On RTE at the time, so they come down and did their thing, like so which was great at the time, like, but it's just a shame we couldn't have, when it was done that year, that we couldn't have found a way to keep it going, because we'd opened the door.
Yes,
everybody was happy. The thing had worked well. Irish Shell came aboard, and then as a result of that, David Thomas, who would have been Shell UK, who would have sponsored Bertie and Vincent Bonner and the McRae's, all those big names in sport where he retired them with Shell and Gemini and all that. He took an interest in Donegal.
Right,
so he was then willing to start to bring the UK stars to do the event. So we had a great thing going. But anyway, anyway, it didn't happen. So you know, and it was then, I suppose, whenever Plum started RPM, then before we started to see rallying on TV again.
I just recently watched that '83 footage, and it was incredible. Like, you know, they interviewed the drivers like nearly at the end of the stages and things, like, which is only as the last few years has become a thing again, and they caught the raw emotion of like Fisher and McHale and Bonner obviously then as well too. You know, it was very raw, but it just hit you. Like, that was what rallying was about at them days. It was, you know, they were pulling out at the end of the stages, the sweat still running down their face, and it, you know, it was just grabbed you that this is exciting, you know. So
I know, and it came across well. I think they were pleased with it. Anyway, you know, I suppose national broadcasters and sport can be fairly political too, I suppose, in some way or others, like, you know. But I always felt saddened that when we got the way in, everybody was happy with the product, but if we couldn't get it, we couldn't keep it going. But anyway, there you go.
So then, like '83, when Bonner won it, like what was that like? Welcoming up Vincent Bonner, Donegal man, you and Donegal man yourself, welcome him up to that finish ramp. That must have been some buzz.
It was like, and I just got to know Vincent a wee bit, and sure, everybody knew Seamus, like, so. And like, so he was only down the road from what they call the Burma here, like, so, you know, he was our go-to man. And then, you know, funny enough, the following year, Seamus' brother Cathal sat with me and the car that won the rally and all that, you know. But that whole thing, like, and then that was the fairy tale ending, wasn't it? We had the rally was back in Letterkenny, the weather was great, the crowds were great, it was financially viable, we had TV coverage, and then came the fairy tale. Vincent and James won the rally. You know, and to be the first that and you know, and to be part of that, you know. Actually, you know, because you're on the rally, you were a wee bit part of it, like, so. But of course, they won the rally and all that, but it's still a fair memory, like, to see that car going up over the ramp when you stand, you know, and standing on it. You know, and the whole relief, and then, as I say, but just that icing on the cake, like a hometown hero on the rally, and the buzz around Donegal because of that. You know, it's like, I suppose it's like Donegal won their first All Ireland, isn't it? Really, that's. It was that big. It was that big, like, and it was that big. It was a huge thing, like, and that, you know, that reflected in the rally, and then the whole buzz and the goodwill, the whole thing from the event went on for weeks after, and there was more, you know, and it was all a big talking point, and everybody you met was talking about the rally and talking about Bonner and the whole thing, like, you know, it's great for everybody, like, you know. People absolutely, you know, it brought a huge, new different audience to the whole sport, like, and, you know, the papers and just the general chat, like, and then of course the boy won the rally, and that was huge, like, that really was.
So then, be '84, then you were back behind the driving seat in the X1 and '83 car. Like, how good was that to have, you know, have that sitting out in your back street?
Well, there were plenty of ups and downs down, and plenty of scary moments before we actually got as far as Brina the first stage, like, you know, with all the handlings was, like, with the car and that oil light coming on, not coming down the road, and getting the money to get it all gathered up, and hell, it was like, but just getting to actually do the stages in and like, and a proper Mark II Escort, never mind the fact this car won the rally, and what credit, you know, it was Fisher and Bonner, like, sure, you know, and
as good as it got.
2 years ago I was driving a wee Avenger or a wee Sunbeam, you know, and all of a sudden here you were, and like, it was it's one of the better experiences of rallying, just to actually do that. You know, I talked to a couple of people who never actually, who had ran, you know, Avengers and Sunbeams, the same as class that I was in, different things like that. Like, they asked me what's it like, because not everybody got a chance to drive a BDA back in those days. You couldn't hire one.
No.
You know, and very few people would give you a run one. So you know, and here we were, like, the two local boys again, heading for, and we had that was the town stages.
Yes.
Through Letterkenny, I'd come on through Letterkenny, and a full house BDA, like, up the streets that you walk up, You know, that's
Like,
it's
you walk to school up them streets.
it'll never happen again. Like,
Oh,
you know, that's, you know, we're blessed and very lucky to come through that era.
Uh-huh.
And like it was crazy. Where people was, you know, you've all seen the videos and the photographs, like
Of course. Yeah.
standing 10 deep in footpaths, like.
You could
And
reach
the
down and
crowd, like,
touch the
come up
car.
around the place. It
Mhm.
was like watching Portugal, and like reminds me of some of the old circuit
Mhm.
days. Like you know, when you come up around the port road, up the road, the crowd, the road appeared in front of you. The crowd just parted for you to go through. You know, that sort of, and you wired up like, and heading up towards where Cathal lived and all that sort of thing. That was the stage.
Uh-huh.
You know, where we went there. You know, it was, I know that was, you know, as you say now, when you as you reminisce about it, like all you do is smile and think about it. Wasn't that something else?
And you probably, you know, that's probably a small regret, as you didn't even appreciate it really at the time, because you thought it was just always going to be this way, didn't you? Like, at the same time.
Oh, we didn't know the town stages were like so
Aye.
special, and you know, and the car was so special. And sure, it was a showman's car. It was made to be driven sideways. And when you 80,000, when you're doing it in front of 80,000 people, like, so that's what
You didn't need any encouragement.
You didn't need any encouragement now, and was the no, you didn't need any encouragement. It was, you know, fantastic for anybody that did it.
Yeah, and then we'll skip forward a couple of years. In '86, you got a chance to drive a works Nissan 240. Like, you were doing the British National Championship.
Aye.
You encouraged the guys to bring the car over to Donegal. Like,
aye, we did. We were doing this to say that the British Championship in Roy Kiernan was sitting with me at that time. So we got the boys. We had a rally plan past them, and fair play to Francis Mary Blindside at the time. Said, "Okay, we'll go, and we'll give you a loan of the car if you can find some, you know, a bit of expenses and stuff like that, and we'll give you the tires." And then the guys, they all took their holidays. They come over for free for beer money, like, you know, to come. That's what Donegal was to the people in the UK, and this is works teams, and like, these guys have been all over the world. It's everywhere. One wee story that come up recently. There was a guy that ran in the Middle East, and what he did, like, when everybody, they're used to it, always really keen and mad. The guys were really keen to go to the Middle East. This guy was obviously very wealthy, but one of the perks was everybody that serviced for him got a Rolex watch at the end of the rally. Now, that's what we're competing against, so that shows you what it was like to come to Donegal for the crack.
For free,
You know, but the boys up, and it was for beer money, like, that's what, and the atmosphere and the crack, like it, and it went right the way through the sport to the highest levels of it. They all wanted to be here, to be part of what we had in Donegal.
Yes,
which is fantastic, wasn't it?
And like, you led the rally for a few stages then on the Saturday. Like,
I was there because Austin, he went off the road, like, in Macalla, you know, and that we were like, oil tires weren't great. They were come out of a container from our way out.
Right.
They were real concrete tires, like, you know, but they were free, so they were on the yoke, and away we went, like, so. And it was grand, like, it was good, like, and then the only thing happened was Austin was trying to obviously build as much of a lead as he could, because he knew when the Metro got started, like, it was a different league. Once Billy got the car started, like, so he just hunted us down. We were never going to stay in front of him, so but we were just told, you just settle down and you just bring the car home. You know, we couldn't race him, but if it had pushed harder, maybe we could have stretched it out a bit longer, and you never know then, you know, but in no way you're going to beat a Metro. It was differently.
No, and like, the Nissan really wasn't the ideal tarmac car either, really, if you consider some of the opposition, you know. So.
And then there was this one. Now, this was the steering box one.
Yes.
This the one with the steering box. So when you when you brake, like, it wanted to shake the steering wheel out of your hand, like, and there's only people who have driven these cars can tell you what they were like in tarmac when you brake, like, they were evil.
Yes.
That fucking two hands were going, like, it was. And they were big, heavy. They were big safari type. Not for the Asian rallies, the big long endurance events, but they were seriously strong.
And yours was basically a gravel car as well. It wasn't even particularly a tarmac car either.
It was just a car we used in the British Championship, like, for the gravel rounds, like, you know. But sure, it didn't matter. You're doing Donegal.
That was important.
You know, that was a whole and a fairly fit you know, in a fairly good car. Like as it turned out, we were second, so it wasn't a bad car either. Like by any man means.
Yeah.
Just a shame about that Coleman boy in the metro.
Yeah.
But it was great. Like those times were great because that, you know, Ronan would come over for the times there, and Billy would have an odd chat with you after, you know, when you're actually talking to Billy Coleman about rallying and about your times and this and that and the other, like, you know, sort of. So, and a number of years before, that's how you went to, you know.
That was okay.
We drove around Ireland everywhere just to go to watch him, just to go and see him, like, you know. So, you know, that was all. That's all the very good memories, like, you know.
Yeah. And then even 2 years later, again, '88, you were back then in the Ascona, and you know the Friday probably as near a perfect a day as possible, leading almost to the end of Friday, and then Phil Collins, I think, went off, and you get held up. And
I was there. There were lots of dramas and complications that year, and that was George's car, George. That was ex Vincent Bonner again, ex Birdie. No, Vincent as well. Yeah. And another cracker of a car. So George landed here after Christmas. That here, so we're pretty good to do Galway in it in '88. So anyway, had the car for Donegal, but part of it was like what was bogies for the problem.
Oh yes, nominal time kind of thing.
Yeah. And all that sort of thing, and they were stupid, you know, and they weren't set. Anyway, everybody were set. We were quickest in the first stage or two. I can't remember, but then everybody beat the bogey by 30 seconds or a minute or something silly like that. Anyway, like, you know, and going back into the second time round, you didn't know how hard you were going to go, like, because the thing still. I think they changed them a good bit the second time, but we still broke it anyway.
Right.
So long story short, the only stage really counted that was the convoy. It was that stage after the convoy road. Was it that?
Oh yes.
Paul Collins said that went off and blocked.
So
that was the only, you know. So we should have had about an 8-second lead,
right?
But because of the bogey, we didn't.
Yes. And
then the stage was blocked, and Vincent was in front of me actually at the time. So we're there. We lost 2.5 minutes anyway. Long story short, anyway. So off we went, and our biggest worry that night coming in was we'd given away because of the bogey, and then we were getting Bertie's time for the stage because he was the car in front of us. So that was our biggest. That meant we dropped 2 seconds or 4 seconds to level or something. And then we found out we lost 2.5 minutes. So, you know, that was a real kick in the teeth, like, but sure. So not a thing we spent arguing to 3 o'clock in the morning about it, but it got nowhere. So the organisers wouldn't deem it that the stage was stopped.
Right.
So they said it wasn't an interrupted stage. So how you work that out, I don't know, but that's the way it was. They were the boss.
Yes. And like, was it hard then Saturday morning to get motivated again, or was the red mist come down straight away, or?
No, it was kind of hard to get going again. Now you're going because you're Donegal, you had all the local sponsors, all the boys. You're still doing the Donegal Rally. There'll still be a wee bit of fire in your belly because you felt a bit hard done by, and we wanted to see it on Saturday. Then, like, could we actually race the guy as well? There was that part in it as well, you know.
Yes.
So I know 8th or something. And so it was just go and see how we got on for the first half of the day anyway, and then see what would happen then. So we launched the full attack at it.
And like, you know, like you got back up to second by the end, and Lovell started to have a few wee niggles towards the end. Like, if it had been a tight race, who knows? But like,
who knows? And you know,
Lovell said that, you know, they never pushed as hard. Like,
no, for we got to know Terry Harriman very, very well after that. We done 5 or 6 years together doing gravel notes around the world and all that sort of thing. Like, and Terry to this day will say like that was they were on the door handles, like, and it was, and they were surprised, but they were.
Yeah. And
they had their wee problem, and they broke it up, but they just near the end of the stage and down at the service and got it changed. That's, you know, that's rallying. We've all been there. So, but you know, but when you hadn't won the rally and it was Donegal, and you know, you thought, we believed we could have won the rally. You know, and I think we did enough to prove that, and there was a huge actually a huge oil blow at the time, but sure, we still finished second, and
Yeah.
we
I
had the
probably-
crack, and we were there,
On Friday morning, if somebody told you to finish second, you'd have took it at the same time.
Would have taken it, of course you would have taken it. Yeah.
Mhm.
But now, in fairness to that car, after what happened in Galway that year, we figured like that we came to win the rally. To be fair,
Right. Yes.
we did believe that we, with a fair wind and a bit of a following wind, as I say, we could have, we might have done it. Like
Mhm.
we weren't underestimating what we're up against, but
Yeah.
I think that's what made it more. You had Bertie was there in the other Sierra, and then you had like a works driver, a paid professional driver, who was one of the best probably tarmac drivers in the world, coming to do your home event.
Yes.
So if you're ever going to see how good you were,
This was
This
you
was-
need to be
this-
pitting yourself against.
how many opportunities were you going to get to have
Mhm.
someone of that caliber in the car, the outfit, to actually go and race against? So that was huge. And you think where we came from over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and what the rally meant to us, and all the things, the people that I watched in Donegal and spectated at, and then all of a sudden you were going to be part of this, and there was a chance we could actually, because we knew in Galway we could,
Yeah,
if
you
we got
could be
this right,
competitive.
we could actually be competitive. Like, and why could we not want?
Mm-hmm. And like even then, the Skona was like, was what 5-6 years out of date. Like, and
Aye.
the Lovell's car was the Borum car. Like it was had all the bells and
Oh,
whistles on it. Mhm.
A proper car and a proper driver. Like,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
Donegal's Donegal, we had a good motivation, but like, I never had a car that could hang on or go around corners. Like,
Right. Mhm,
if you were committed with it, like, could it hang on?
mhm.
Kill you to drive it, because there's no power steering.
Right.
And what had we? We had 8 or 9 inch fronts or something on the thing.
Right. Mhm.
Serious tarmac car,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
brilliant on the jumps, and but definitely could go around corners now if you can muscle it around them,
Yes.
No, great times,
Mhm.
great couple of rallies in that car. Like.
Yes. And then we'll skip forward again then to 1990. Sorry, was the first year in Pink Panther, the Pink Sierra.
Mm.
You blew a turbo very early on, but like that was the year that Bonner, Fisher, and McHale were having the real big ding dong battle, and like
Mhm.
you were matching them and beating them. Like I think you lost something that I can't remember. It was like over 2 minutes, and by the finish you were down to less than 2 minutes, I think, behind them. So
I can't remember that, but I remember like
that must have
being
been
sick at the end of the first and second stage where we'd lost, like, because we had
yeah.
obviously a chance of winning it, and then we did the rally and we're doing the times, but the boys were racing for the lead. We were just
Mhm.
the backup boys, and it was very frustrating that, like, at that time,
Mhm.
and that was a hell of a battle, because when they were dinner time on lunchtime on Saturday, we were still only about 5 or 8 seconds in between the three of them.
Uh-huh.
And that's why you want to go rallying, like,
Mhm.
and I think after we got the car sorted, stage from 3, with 13 fastest times in a row.
Right.
But sure, it didn't really matter
No,
at the end
but
of the day. The race didn't involve us, like, so.
but to even be able to punch in them times when them other 3 guys were absolutely giving everything. They were throwing
Aye, well,
the kitchen sink and everything at that stage, weren't they? And like you were
Aye, well, that's
probably,
what it
it's
was.
hard to get motivated to do that.
Aye, no, that's what it was about, because they were going, like, the big race was on, and this was about pride and about about our own sponsors who put, most of them are local, who put a huge amount of money into that, like, and Shell come on a wee bit in that time, and you were doing your best to impress them, like, to see could you keep the thing going, like, so. The best way we thought we could do that for everybody was go as hard as we could go and see how it worked out, like, so that's what we did. But then it was just a matter of, after a bit, then so it was a matter of preserving the car, then making sure it finished and get the thing done. And we were fortunate to get third. Like, it's one even, I can't remember where we would actually got it. Where we would have, I know we would have closed down a good bit, like, but either rotor arm or something didn't break on something. And like, when you think, well, you go from where Vincent was to having won the rally before to being in that battle, and then not even get a finish.
Yeah.
But that's, there's plenty of down days.
Yeah,
Aye. his birthdays at one time. We were chatting after it. Must have been the first year I won it. He says, "Enjoy these days." He says, "Because there's plenty of bad days in rally. The most of the good ones."
Yes.
So he, he had his ups and downs too. Like,
Well, of course he had.
should have won rallies, didn't win rallies, went off in rallies. Did,
Mhm.
So he says, "Enjoy the good days because they're scarce enough."
And there's another man too, like another man that you'd watched on the stages, and to be there competing with Bertie, it must have been such a thrill for you as well.
Well, you took it the guys who we grew up with, like Bertie Fisher and Austin McHale, and you actually got to know them fairly well, and you had their respect, like, and two different characters, two completely ways, like, but two superb drivers, like,
Mm-hmm.
And like Austin's full of development, like he was, and a great adversary, is that the word to say, like a great guy to compete with and against, and great respect for him, and got it from very early on, and always had it from him, so those are as I say earlier on, those are all the good memories, like from that you have from rallying, like from Bertie Fisher and Austin and the Lovels and the McCraes, all that sort of thing, like that's about you take when it's all said and done. That's what I suppose your own memories is what you, and your own thoughts are what you have. That's what you keep from the sport, and that's what you take away.
Aye, that's the things that stick out in the memory more so than really anything else. Yeah. And so then we bounced forward to 91. Finally, it all come good.
I've got the whole pink card to stay going and go hard for 3 days without doing anything wrong.
Well, like what experience?
We were lucky enough for that. We're very lucky with that, actually. How the whole thing panned out. There's a guy called Ray Sherritt, who would have been the chief engineer with RED at the time, and would have done the Orioles car and all those cars, like, and he had just left RED about 3 weeks before Donegal. Okay. And because of Ellen's involvement in the early days with Jeff Fielding and Dave Campion, who went on to run Prodrive.
Oh yeah.
She started there along with Louise in the Escort days, and knew the people very well. So she made a phone call to Ray. Said, "What are you doing next week? Would you like to come to Donegal and help with this car?" Because we were hiring the car from Brooklyn. Okay. So she said, "No, I've got nothing better to do." So we had all of a sudden the chief engineer from RED to help look after the Brooklyn car.
Yes.
So we got down anyway, and they measured the car up, and the 4 wheels weren't even the same point in the same direction. The car was all flexing. So we spent a full day or more welding at the car down in Tony Kelly's garage. Right. And eventually got everything. The thing was flexing and moving, and as it moves in the suspension and all that, like, so it was handling the bike. So we got all that sorted out, so at least it was consistent.
Yeah.
And finding out that the car wasn't as good, and then was a wee bit better, like, so that give you a little bit of booster before the start of the rally too, and then everything fell into place. Yeah.
You're having a great battle with Bertie all Friday. Like, it was seconds between you, and then it was nothing, wasn't it? It was just like a yo-yoed a good bit on Friday, actually, depending on the stages, Letter League was the first one, like, which is big fast stage, and we had a real good time in that. And then when the stage down about Manor, which is real greasy, sloppy, kind of farming country, and so he just took a wallop of time back in that one because of the traction with the car, drive then helped there.
And I remember the big decision then was showery. Right. And some of the showers were pretty showery now. They were fairly, So we went in slicks for Letter League, and we got away at the start of it. It was dry till we got over the top of the mountain before it rained properly, like, and that's what we got the gap then. And then, of course, you took it back in the next one again. And I can't remember about the third one, but that's the way it was. So got out to Ardrummun on the Saturday morning. What was there 8 seconds in it?
Something like that.
And then we took 4 off. We took 4 off them, and so all of a sudden was game on, like, And then with the famous cat then come out and helped us.
Yes.
Like, so, and then there's not Bertie wasn't the first, wasn't the last guy. So a few famous guys in that corner now, but Mickelson went off there 1 year too.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a few years later. That's right. And like, how difficult was it then to close it out? Like, like whenever you're involved in the battle, you know you have to go as hard as possible. To try and
It
pull
was
it
a big.
back, then
It was so early on Saturday morning.
uh-huh.
You know, when you would come through Friday, as I say, with a big attack, all guns blazing on Saturday morning. We were back in the hunt and we're going to fan it like fully. You know, we were going for the rally as such, like, and then I remember seeing Rory standing on the side of the road, like, and it took you a couple for to register what had even happened, you know, and then get off the area. Your job then is to get off the stage and have a chat about it and blah blah. But it was difficult then because they gapped into the next car.
I think you're already like
Hey,
I think you had a minute up or something.
I was a certain Jimmy McRae in the car that won Corsica.
Yes.
So and a young Chris Patterson who went on to become a star. He was, you know, when Chris was doing the rally with Jim that year, like, so. You know, we had a job to do then. It was matters doing what you're supposed to do and not get carried away and just fingers crossed that, you know, down the years something always nearly went wrong in Donegal, that you know, when you spent the 2 days nearly waiting for someone to go wrong, because that was kind of the norm up to that, like, you know.
Yeah.
No, all good. It went superb, like, and the first one was the first one. It's magical. It really is, like, you know, you know, when you look back at all the things we went through, and up to that, only one other Donegal person had won the rally.
Yeah.
So you're walking in Vincent Bonner shoes, Bertie Fisher's shoes, Cathal Curley's, and Coleman's. You know, when you list off the names of people who want to watch won this rally, and eventually, like, we did it, and then, you know, from George and Joe and all my people who helped out, and Frank Grimes, the four lanterns, Tony Kelly, Bunsen, all the, you know, that was that group of people who'd been there all the time down the years and had so many disappointments and so many F-onlys and bans, and so, you know, and then we're going back to the ramp in Kenny, and this time we were coming over first, like, you know. So
the band was playing for you that day, wasn't it?
The band was playing our tune, that's right. The band was playing our tune.
Yes.
And they played it on then for a few days after, so as well. So, you know, when you think back on it, was and the crowds and the buzz about the town, and, you know, it was a bit. I'd seen a little bit of it from the year Vincent had won it in '83.
Yes.
And then now it was my turn.
Yes. You were the boy making the headlines.
I would a parade around the town and all that sort of stuff, like. Sure. Yes. I thought, well, you know, you thought you're coming home in All Ireland, and for us, well, that's what it was. It was your equivalent, Ireland, or your Olympic medal, or whatever you want to call it, like.
Yeah.
And the Donegal Rally was huge then, like it still was. So, and it was great for us to say, for all the people who had supported us down the years, to eventually get to the top spot.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, all them names you mentioned, all were Letterkenny businessmen too, a lot of them. So that, you know, it made it so special that, you know, again, local man, local team, of everything was just within, you know, a stone's throw of the hotel, really.
You know, most of the people on that team, apart from the guys who came from Brooklyn, obviously, we all grew up with the rally. You know, that was our sport, that was our big thing, and you know, and without those guys, I would never have done it. Like, I wouldn't have been there. So.
It was there all Ireland Sunday.
I was like a big family thing, like, you know, like extended family, and we're all on the one, we're on the one hymn sheet, or on the one road, whatever you call it, like. But we relished it. It was special. Yeah, we did. And the scarce.
Yeah, and then, you know, by '93, like another year that, you know, it's probably we don't really appreciate it, but you finished third in a Group N car. Like, again, that was phenomenal. When you look at who was behind you, like, it was, you know, the guys in front. Yes, Fisher was probably 4 or 5 minutes ahead of you, but like a Group N car, Escort Cosworth at that time, they were fast, but they were kind of, the gearbox and things in them was a bit suspect. So you had to probably, you could drive hard, but there was a certain bit of nursing had to be.
And no matter how hard, there were 3 seconds a mile slower than a Group A car.
Right.
That's just Ford. That's from their test and all the rest. That's what the difference was. 3 seconds mile. Plus, you know, on a hard, long tarmac rally, the chances of it breaking were very high. You probably have to put at least one gearbox into it. No, it didn't have to break. You know, that was what it was a Group N car. But it was a good car, and we didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, it was even better.
It was a big thing. We had a really, really, really good team at the time. Like, we kept the core of our couple of guys involved, Joe and Kieran Burke and Noel Orr and a few boys had always been there, and great, that were the, and then plus the guys who came from SPG at the time, like that was done on the back of the Shell scholarship thing, like, and then we had Chris Dale, who's a fantastic guy who coordinated the thing, and actually all you had to do was drive the car, so it was like being as good as being a professional driver, as you were, that's the way top teams went. That's the way Bertie and the guy, that's how they did it. We were doing it the same way. So, for debut, we were third in the circuit, second in Clarny, which was 2 gearboxes, and second, and we managed. We were third in Donegal, sixth in the Manx that year, and one Group N got to the B seeding, and then the piece de resistance was actually with the Tarmac Championship tied up. And we won Cork then.
Yeah,
Cork was wet, so that helped us a lot too. Like, but that was a big one. That was very good, like, for a Group N car, because it wasn't just like, we had to beat Frank Maher and Liam O'Callaghan to win the rally in Group A car, so it wasn't just.
And they're not soft drivers, so they went in their day.
No, we didn't get it handed to us. Like, we actually had to go and win the rally, and which was great. Like, so. Yes. That was the best days. That. Like.
I can remember in the Plum interviewing yourself and Ellen at the end, and he said to Ellen a list of all your achievements this year, and like it was a Group N, and and then and the BC license as well. There was just so many things.
That was a big thing for me. Like, that was and the Manx was always a big. I always liked the Manx. Like, it was always like, it was big European Championship rally then.
Yes,
that's just big. It was like a World Championship event. Like, I never got to do Rally GB or RAC as it was in the day, but I got to do the Manx a couple of times. Like, and that was the next best thing.
I think that was coefficient 20 or whatever at that stage.
That was coefficient. That's the only way you could get it. You had to be in the first 3 or 1 Group N, and that was that. And you couldn't. It's not like. Wasn't recent in years before your MSA could actually allocate you a B seating for if you're going to do certain things, and all that. But up to that, the only way you could get the seating was earn it. So the A seating came from being in the first, whatever, I can't remember, in the World Championship rally, and then the B, the different rules. But that was had to be coefficient 20, first 3 overall, and Group N, and then of course we missed it twice. With pink car. We were fourth twice in that car, like, so, so that was just a nice thing to get, and you were anxious to get it. You thought at the time might have helped with sponsors and all that sort of thing. Like, that's the way you had to think all the time. That was your job, where's the money going to come from, like, and how do we go about getting it, and what helps to get you that profile, and obviously a B seating, and if But in '94, it was just one of them years. Now it went right, so much for the B season.
But then '95, then with the help of like Andy Brown, it developed the Group N car into like Group A spec. Like the Donegal was the first run out in that car, and like Andy still thinks what a fantastic rally he's had. Used to go on the mate of Prodrive, Bertie Fisher, and came within 15 seconds of winning it. And he says, talking to you guys after, it was desperate. You just got beat. he couldn't understand your rationale at all.
No, it was one of those rallies. We should have won. We should have won the rally. We knew we should have won the rally. We had a lot of drama before it. Like, and only for Andy and his ability to get that car from a Group N car to a Group A car, and provide the car that we needed. But I had a problem before it. I had a big problem with my back, and 3 weeks before the rally, I could hardly walk.
Right.
So that took a wee bit of momentum out of getting the money and stuff like that. And then Andy was very conscious of that. But what we didn't know at the time was L Fuel came on board.
Right.
And that was worth half a second a mile. Like.
Okay.
That's what it was worth, more or less. And we ran super unleaded. So we gave away half a second a mile.
Right.
Dunlop arrived. They didn't have a hard enough tire, so we struggled in tires. So, and then Bertie made 2 mistakes, not big ones.
No. been enough,
But
yeah.
like, but from where we were, the fuel was enough to win us the rally.
Right.
The fuel was worth 30 seconds.
Right. And like I say, Andy, we couldn't comprehend this at all.
No,
You know,
but that's the way we thought.
uh-huh.
How often does this opportunity come along? And
Yeah.
we only found out at the end of the rally
Right.
about the fuel and the difference that it made.
Uh-huh.
So but and stick everything else, we had put so much into it, like as you do.
Blood, sweat, and tears went into
we believe we could have, but there always has to be winners and losers. So
yeah.
we got over that. Then turn, we were still second. Was a classic battle. Like it went to the last stage. So
yeah, like,
it'd been great if you had it's great for the winner, not so great for the loser. And I think halfway through the stage, I don't know what was it. I could see him. I could see the car. And I said, just we're up. Much, I was trying to figure out in my head how much we're up, And then sort of got this, just do what you're supposed to do. Drive the car, don't look at anything else.
Right.
Got up onto that tight twisty bit near the end of it.
The
next time, the whole inside of the car filled with moisture. The screen, they couldn't see out of it. Someone busted it. I thought the engine blew. It's actually there's a water injection tank inside of the car and behind the co-driver's seat.
Right.
But a pipe would come off it.
And that's
I thought the engine was gone. And then, of course, it stopped spraying onto the turbo and the tight stuff and onto the injection and all that, so that it actually lost away at power and went to kind of half safe, well, and all that sort of thing. I said, I was nearly in tears at the end of the stage. I think, Jesus Christ, where are we going to get money? What is this thing going to cost to get fixed? Will it even make it up the road to the finish?
Oh yes.
Because this was Malhead. So you still had to get back to Letterkenny to finish the rally, And all the boys were waiting for the times at the end of the stage, and I had only one thing in my mind: just get to the, we had about a mile to go down to where the chase car was.
Oh yes.
I just needed to get there to see is this car like? What's the damage?
Is this terminal or what is it?
Is there any way we can get it up the road? Could we tow up the road and push her in, or would she go? Well, that's my thoughts to go down to the end of the stage, like, and then the boys come in and Andy looked down and knew right away what it was like. And of course, Bertie and Rory were standing out in the road waiting for time, and there was all big hugs and everything, and all that sort of thing. Because we had some 3 days, like we really had, like it was fun that we're at it hell for leather for 3 days, which is great. Like, and that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And to get it to go to the last stage, which is.
And like
that's what
and then to turn around and have a big hug then at the end of it all. Like there was no ill feeling, no bitterness, no nothing.
Not at all. No, we had a great rapport with the boys, like, and particularly Bertie and that, like, and they knew they were in a battle, and it would have been the same if we had won it. That's was the thing about them, It was just 2 sports people who had given their best, and just that appreciation and the emotion from the both of us.
Yeah.
And you always remember that from down the years, and like that thing when we got out of the cars at the end of the stage, and the boys standing there waiting and all that sort of stuff, like, and then after we got told that it wasn't the engine blowing, so the relief from that, like, and then just and that just that emotion and that respect for someone from Bertie, was always genuine and appreciated.
Yeah. And then like 96, and like there's another interloper in the saga was Andrew Nesbitt had took the step up to the full Group A car and all too. And again another titanic battle between the 3. It's like that swayed 4 seconds here.
I think that went everywhere. I think every one of us led the rally at the time. It was very, very, very close. Like apart from Knockalla and a couple of them very fast stages where the other yoke seemed to be get the legs on us now, but we had a good old battle. But then we went into Knockalla, and Andrew took 9, and myself and Bertie at the same time. When we were on the rev limiter, we were flat to the mat, and that was it. Like when we could hold them on the driver's stages, there were a second or 2 seconds on it here and there, and was up and down, and then got in Knockalla, and you get 9 seconds each time. That was 18. That's when you're like talking about a second here and a second there. And then Sunday there was one of the stages that they had down, and they showing it 4 1-mile straights on it.
Right.
and there was just no living with a Toyota on it. Like that was game over. Like, but it was some battle, and one we really wanted to win because that was the 25th anniversary.
Okay.
And we probably knew in our hearts it was the end of the Escort as a competitive entity.
Right. Yes.
And the form that we had it in was like that was.
Yes.
This was the last roll of the dice with this car. Like,
I was going to
we
think
had
we
it for a
wanted to
couple of
take the
years
next
after that.
level.
And we had it for a couple of years after that. Like, but it was and then you had Bertie and you had Andrew, so you had the best in the country.
Yep.
Ian Greer was there that year too, and
That's
you know
right,
everybody.
yeah.
It was you know, and Donegal the way it should be. Everybody flat out at the top, no quarter given, none asked for, and you know, and may the best man won, and you know, when it's all over, we're all, you know, we went at it as hard as we could go for 3 days. Like, when it was all over, it was over. Like, we're back in we're rally boys in again, having the crack and so on and so forth. Like, but it's great, you know, it was great to be part of it.
Yes, like that
was
is
one
the
of them
golden
others,
era, isn't it? You know, like that's going to be, and years to come. This is, you know, even now we're looking back at it and we're just saying them were magic days, weren't they? You know. So.
I suppose that was the last of the group. You know, was coming near the end of the Group A era. Was coming fairly soon towards that. Like, you know, and it was the end for that for the Escort. It was the 165 Toyota was nearly on the way out at that stage.
Yeah,
like
the 185.
Everything was moving on, and a couple of years later, like, it was the end of the Group A cars. Like, you know, so you know, that was. But you know, we had the Escort for another couple of years, but really, it's time at that level because the next thing appeared and wasn't a Legacy, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Impreza, the Legacy was out at that stage.
The Legacy was next then, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, for you was the Impreza. The Impreza.
But an Irish rally, and then the Legacy.
The Legacy was out early 90s, 92, 93, wasn't it?
No, that was, I'm getting mixed up now. That was long past that, wasn't it? There was the Impreza with the car then, sure, that was moving on.
Yeah.
And then you had the 205. They came along. They were like, everything was moving on, so it was the end. It was really the end of the writing was on the wall for our car, and the cars that's at elk, like, you know.
So within by '99, you finally got your hands on one of these Japanese rocket ships. You hired a Group A Impreza of Kenny McKinstry. Like, what was it like then to finally step into the car to see what you'd been missing out on the last 2 or 3 years?
Super car, as I said, like, we were lucky enough that Kenny bought the car, so we could actually do a deal with Kenny, and he got the car from Prodrive, and it was a real nice fit car. Like, it really was. And we had first dabs on it, which was great. Like, so, no, we went out to Brina to have a run on the car somewhere, and I'd taken Tony Kelly on the road out to me, and there's a junction out, you can take it nearly flat maybe, you know, but out the road anyway, and I was joking. Tony looked over at me, he says, wasting your time in that other car, weren't you? He says, you're just, with a slight adjective, you were wasting your time in that other car. Really,
yes.
You know, you could sit in the car, even then you could tell, you know, the difference in the car right away. Like, you know. And then sure, me and Roy did Gavin to shake down with it. Yeah. No, it was such an easy car to drive. Right. Did exactly what I said in the tin, did everything right. Once you sat in the car, even the way it, you know, where the seat was, where your driving position, where you could see where the gearbox was, where everything was just where it should be, and everything worked, and everything did exactly what it was supposed to do. Stopped, it turned in, took off the line, it handbraked. Every time you put your foot in the brake, it stopped. And it was just a really easy car to drive. Right. It really was. You know, because we were able to step onto it and do.
I'd be competitive.
Do the time. And be competitive, like, you know. So, and it was a beautiful little car.
And the 99 Donegal, probably not the best start. Puncture on the first stage, but by God.
Puncture the first stage.
But by God,
here we go again. Like, here we go again. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And then there was, no, the first thing, like, that was going to be it's built up. That could be a great year after, and Andrew was there, and the 555 car as well. Bernie was there, Ian Greer, Frank Maher, the whole shit match were there. Like, so it was great. Like, and what happened? Oh, we got the puncher on the first stage,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're up. The next thing up this junction, he was in the shock with Nesbitt, like, you know. So we were bad, but he was worse. He was still on it. So
Yes.
we got to the end of the stage, like, and sure, Andrew was basically, he was out of the event as such, like from one of his point of view.
Yes.
And so we thought the same. This is like 19. This is like it's all over again. Like as we done this
90.
and 90.
Yeah.
We did it in Rory in 97. Broke the front diff on the first stage and all that sort of. We just been through all that stuff. So one thing you can think of, and then get all that drama at the end of the stage. Then now it's coming in. As I said to somebody else recently, you know, the puncher to get down off the stage to get the wheel changed to get the next stage, and you just down in the dumps. And here are these boys are here with this weighbridge in the middle of the fucking road, like. And all you wanted to do was, you know, but
Get your head
we didn't know about. We didn't know about the drama that had happened in front of us at that stage,
Right.
like, either, you know,
Yes.
all the other things that are going on behind the scenes, like. But you know, we just wanted to get up the road to change the bloody wheel and get over it and see what we're going to do. And here, I'm trying to get up on a wheel scale with a flat wheel. And, such a, you know, this is the road section, like,
Yes.
you know, so all we went anyway, and sure, there were nothing else left to do then but see how well this thing could go. You know, we were really gutted because Kenny put a lot into it. Everybody again had. And you know, you kind of shot yourself in the foot in the first stage, like, it's not good. So we've done our best to redeem ourselves over the next few stages. So.
And like, you know, it was probably shortly. It was the fourth or fifth stage. Wasn't Bertie in the ditch then too? So
that was Saturday morning.
That was Saturday morning. Sorry, you're right. Yeah.
That was Saturday morning. We went out, and I don't know where it was. I can't remember now, but I remember it chucked it down on Saturday, like seriously wet even for Donegal, like, you know. And it was all about tire choice and plans and all that sort of thing, which would be quickest. And we knew his tire would be quickest within Georgia to set of second-hand wets.
Okay.
That were free. So that was a tire decision made then. So we stuck them on. But a good oil cut through Glen, and we're joint fastest, so it's okay. Like, we're not, you know, this is a seriously treacherous day. Like, if you're going to go stick your neck out, you get getting up. This is about managing the thing here, because there's only so much we can do. And that was a decision, and it worked, like, it paid off. And then Bertie unfortunately did what we did on the first stage. He nipped the stone and fan it, and then down into the next junction, and the next right-hander went to turn in, braking, turned in, like, and with a flat wheels where that was slid off the road, like, you know. So we second then. We must have been up to second then. So
I think you're second or third something at that time,
and then like that was us in the lead then, so it was going to matter, you know, same thing, do the job then again, like, and get the thing open.
Yeah.
Do not put the thing off for again, you know.
Yeah. And again, like, by Sunday afternoon, you're about to be hearing every wee bang and creak in the car, like,
there was, of course you did, like, and you know, I would say if you're talking to even Sebastian Ogier, he'll tell you on Sunday evening when he's leading, he'll be hear things you don't normally hear now. But we were very confident in the car, as long as we didn't make the mistake, whatever was about that car and about the team and Kenny and the whole thing, and you know, Alan Causey had run that Escort of mine before that, and I had great belief in him and great confidence in him, and he came along to help supervise the thing, and you know, and those cars didn't break they didn't break very much, like, and this was a cracker of the car, you could just feel it. But you know, but you're still, like, you were still very, very nervous of yourself, of making a mistake, or of the sort of luck that we had in the past come back and bite us again, like, you know, something that doesn't normally happen would happen.
Yes.
You know, everybody's seen it all, but anyway, everything crossed, fingers crossed, and the whole lot, and the car never missed a beat.
I could, again, the Sunday stages was up round Malin, like, and the sun come out after being such, you know, the Friday and the Saturday. Friday was mixed, but Saturday was horrendous, and the sun came out on Sunday. Like,
Sunday was a beautiful day, like, you know.
It's just like, what a day to win a rally, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, but like you know, heading into Malin Head, leading the rally, going into a classy stage like that, like, it's one of the best stages in the country. Super stage, the scenery, everything about it, like, and you know, we were leading the rally, it was there, and they're actually enjoying it, because I say there was a confidence in the car that you weren't going to make a mistake with it. Like,
No, it was fitting
it'd
you
be
like a
okay.
glove at that stage, really.
Aye,
wasn't it?
and
Yes.
then you were trying to manage this, not go too hard, but then you could not, you could not drive Malin Head like a rally driver. Like that was too big a gift to be given, not to
make the most of it.
you didn't go mad on it, but you still went in
Yeah.
and it's like Atlantic Drive or High. It's one of those stages. Like it's the only stage like it close to it is Cott's Head in Killarney. Like it's one of those real Atlantic coastal roads. It's fabulous if you're a rally driver. Doesn't come any better.
That's the ones you live for, isn't it?
That's one that's and to be leading the rally and into that way, proper car. Like sure, that's it. Why not?
Go for it.
That worked.
And then going back again in 2000, exactly the same car. Probably drove every bit as well, but Nesbitt had the world car, and just the difference in technology from the Group A car to the world car. Like
as we're saying, that was the end of the Group A era for sure. Like the world cars, that everything moves on. They've taken a really big step forward. So that was it. That was it. Like, and I think we even might have beat a couple of world cars, really. And the rally, like, but you had a combination of a P2000 and Andrew Nesbitt's hands. So, and he was on a mission. So there was just like, we did our best, and then the end of us is no point. Like we get it down to about quarter of a second a mile in places, like but then there's still 4 seconds a stage in or 5, and we're only going to end up in one place. Like we're going to end up the thing somewhere, like because you couldn't go in that effort.
You were on the rugged edge, weren't you? So
for to go nowhere, like so. That was So like there was nobody else near us, so it was just one of them. That was it. Like, and then that was, I suppose, the end of our time, really.
Aye.
Because the step from the budget, because of what Kenny could do and everybody else, to go to the next step, like was it's way beyond any of our means or any of our capabilities to put that together. There's no way, and there were very few places actually. Then you could even hire a car.
Right. Okay.
Probably was only one place, and then that's where Andrew had got the car. Like to go into that, you had to be on that serious level to compete, and there's no point in turning up. If you didn't have a proper car, you're no point in out and trying to race against someone like Andrew Nesbitt or Bertie Fisher or Frank Maher, whoever it was. Like there's just the serious side of it. There was no point in it. You could go and go for the crack and something, but unless you had similar car and the budget needed to do that, like it gone through the roof completely, astronomical. So that was the end of our time, really. Like that was just
you done a few years in Group N, like in 2007 you went back and finished third in Group N with Alan Harriman in the notes and inside the top 10. That's probably 2006 2007 is the year that we all look back. The Celtic Tiger was full roar, with the best of the best. 2007, like Sebastian Loeb, Citroen Racing, like that must have given you such pride as a Donegal man. All this you invested in this rally, and there was the world champion leading you off from the start on the Friday morning. Didn't get any better, did it?
It was just, I know, it was just a shame, like at the time, that you couldn't have been able to be in a position to be part of that.
Yes.
To be and with Mark Higgins and Donnelly and the boys to see how you would have got on against them.
Yes.
But the Group N is the way it came about. Like, and it was grand. It was great to be. I was getting on rightly then too. Like so, and that was through the Reid Motorsport thing and all that. Like so, it was great. At sort of my time to come back. I hadn't been in a car for 6 years or I don't know what it was, but anyway, to come back and I was able to do a couple of, that whole program started off with Reba doing a couple of rallies with me. That's how the whole thing started. And then Alan come and did a few rallies, which was great because we'd done gravel notes for years across the world.
Okay.
And, we talked about all the rallies here and wanted it would be great to come and do a rally together. So we actually end up been lucky enough to do Donegal and Killarney. I think that's
Right.
that year. Like, so, you know, because we've become very good friends as you would do. You've been away between, you know, Terry sat with me and doing the gravel notes, and Alan sat with Yanni Papperton Review on the World Car, and
Yes.
so it was great. With a great time for a number of years going around the world, like doing all that, like in all the different countries, and you know, it was a great friendship, and then being rally boys, sure, it was great then to come back. It might have been a Group N car, but like it was great for us, like, and Group N at the time, like, was fairly serious, so it wasn't a matter of turning up for it, because you had, you know, Colin Murphy and Gary Jennings. I can't think of the Hollies
guys
guy.
that I would have been capable of winning the rally, and you know, in the right
guys
car.
would have been, and the proper cars would have been at the sharp end of the rally for real, like. Roy White, you know, some. It was right the way down. It was
Aaron McHale too, wasn't that mixed?
Aaron McHale and a young Curran lad who was seriously quick at the time.
Curran Transport, wasn't it? I can think he's working.
I can't think. You know, that's what it is, becoming old now. Because if he hears us, we think I can't remember him. If he walked in now, I can name him. You know.
Michael Curran. Michael Curran.
Michael, and they were all like. They all could have probably won the rally in Group E and World Cars. And you know, sure, Roy White was racing with Declan Boyle and Donna and all the boys, sure. And
Gary Jennings.
He's no spring chicken anymore either, so you know.
And Gary Jennings has won the rally twice.
You know, so and they were great guys to be along with, because they weren't, you know, they were very serious about what they did, but they were great crack.
They still had that ethos.
You all had that bit of crack among yourselves, as well as being serious, like, you know, you know, about the whole thing, like, you know. So that's where it was good. That's where it was good.
So then, you made your final swan song in 2016. A few of the boys around Letterkenny got you a Mark II for. Like, what was that like? A buzz like that must have been something else.
Well, I'll not forget it now. And the boys said they had a ball, which was great. That came down through Aidan Caddy and Stephen Sheridan started that all off, and got a few more of my friends got roped in to putting this thing together. So it was like the return of the Pink Panther or something, wasn't it? So we ended up in one of Ryan Laughran's Escort, and it was some crack. As you know, you keep saying that, but it really was like, it was, how would you say, everything that was good about doing a rally was there, and there was no pressure. You know, all the good things, you know, the anticipation of doing the event, getting down a closed road again when you thought you'd never actually be down one again, you know. All the people who came to speak to you, all people came from all over, and loads of people come over the weekend, and they talked about this rally, that rally, where you were Cork, where you were Killarney. Do you remember this? Do you remember that? You know, so it was all their memories watching, and I was reliving my memories from. And it was super weekend, and the motorhome, and the you know, and for the tea and service, and people coming and going, and it was like a party atmosphere. It really was like it, and it was everything, as I said, that was good about rally, and it was in that team, from the effort that those guys put into it, why they did it. You know, they gave of themselves for so that I could go down memory lane again, and you know, one of those things you won't forget, like, you know.
Because I know, speaking to,
we just must remind them now, because maybe there's one left.
And I know, speaking to Damien Conley, he says, like, on Saturday you were lining up to go up Knockalla, and he says there was just something come over you just went, ooh, this is probably the last opportunity I'm going to get to, you know, drive this in a rally car. And he says, just the old magic come back again, you know.
No, and that whole, you know, and that's like, and you know, for anybody that has been down a state of practice, there is no substitution. It doesn't matter about testing. It doesn't matter about what you do. There's to get in, get the helmet on, and on a proper closed road. It's still one of the best buzzes you'll still get. And it doesn't matter how hard you can go or not go.
No.
You're doing your best, but the sensation, the thrill, the enjoyment is still the same. But if you can do it like we did it then, without the pressure of having to perform or deliver, we were just there, and everybody was enjoying the fact that
you were there.
We were all there. We were all there doing this. We're all part of the big festival and be in service area. And my mates and friends come down. Some of them nothing to do with rallying, but just all part of that. We're part of the circus one more time.
Yeah, and then you often talked about the camaraderie. You were mixing with guys that they were growing up, and you were their hero, and then all of a sudden you were there in the middle of them. It must have been such a buzz for them guys too, wasn't it? So.
I was always coming up to Chattanday, and they didn't, like my lads older, they would have been your kids.
Yes.
There's 30 years difference in some of it, and my dad said he was chatting about you, and my dad said this, and another fellow said that, sort of thing. Funny, and that's right enough, and I said we did we rally in Carlow, we many stages for a run out before the rally,
Yes.
And the COC was summing the thing up. They put in the program, says, if you don't know who this is, he says, ask your father. He'll tell you all you need to know.
Yeah, you're trying to think, is that a compliment or not? So I suppose starting to wrap things up a wee bit now, what makes the Donegal Rally so special to you?
There are so many things go to make the rally for anybody. I think being born in Letterkenny, brought up in Letterkenny, lived in it. This was the biggest thing that had Donegal, never mind Letterkenny. It was the sport that you fell in love with. Then you got a chance to be part of it in so many and so many different facets. Like from Donegal Motor Club, I think I have done nearly every job there is in it, or most of them anyway. I've won every rally that they ran. I have run every rally they have ran. And the way that gets into your veins and inside you, and then actually to go and compete in it, it's that thing of me and Rory going to do our first international rally in an Avenger. That's it was hard to take in. You could hardly believe it at the time, but it's hard to express what that felt like. To have been COC for the rally, and then to have come back and won the rally and competed along with the people, against people that you who were your rally heroes, weren't they? Growing up, and there's so many things when that come together to make it so special. The people of Donegal, the atmosphere in Donegal, the stages, and the level of competitors at the elite level that have come to do this event, the number of stars that have won this event, the guys who give so much, to do the rally themselves. You look back through the old programs and you see the number of people that you knew growing up who actually did the rally, who are now nothing to do with the rally, the people you know from the county and all that. It was such a big thing to come and do this, even if it was only once or a couple of times.
To come and say you've done it then,
and when you grow up when you had very little and you understand what it takes from a clubman to come and do this rally, the sacrifices they have to make and what it takes from the professional side to win this rally, and and all the things that come together. But it's all about the whole buzz and the whole atmosphere of doing this event. Even Sebastian Loeb, who was several, I know many times, he'd won the World Championship at that time, alluded when he came to Donegal, this is what rallying is really about. This rally, the people, the spectators, the closeness of everyone, like the boys camped out, and stuff like that to come and see the event. Like that's a bit, all those ingredients all come together, and as what as the boy in the program says, up here is different.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And it really is, and it is like such a special event from generation. The next, and for the next generation now is going through all this as well. And we just look forward, like please God, next year we'll have it back again, and we'll look forward to this huge special event that's called the Donegal International Rally.
Yeah. And James, this is probably another, probably nearly impossible question to answer. What is the one memory that stands out for you from Donegal Rally years? Is there one special, just key moment that just?
Kevin, there's just so many. Don't forget, I'm at this for 30 years or something like that. But I suppose in many ways, when we were young, to actually go and do the first one,
right?
To actually turn up. And to be actually doing the Donegal Rally and driving in it, and so there's nothing replaces one minute.
Yeah.
No matter how you go out, and no matter what tales you tell or what you make up, that's still that's high in the list, and especially the first one. Like I think that's all special.
Well, James, thank you very much for taking time for joining us, and it's been a pleasure going down memory lane once again with you.
Thank you, Kevin, because it's brought back lots of memories for me too, and they're all, and you've brought back all the good ones. You've avoided all the bad ones.
Oh, well.
So we'll go away happy tonight.
Yes,
now. We only talked about the good times.
It's one of them good days.
So thank you for that. Thank you very much indeed.
Good man, James. Take care.